Good evening, everyone. We'll give folks a couple minutes to join us, and then we will get started. All right. I know we may have a few join us here in the next few minutes, but for the sake of time, we'll go ahead and get us kicked off. So welcome again, everyone, to our final Tiger Talk webinar of the summer. My name is Casey Ford, and I serve as the Director for Student Experience in the Center for Student Leadership and Engagement. And a large part of my role is supporting your experience as parents, family members, and supporters here at Clemson. So as many of you may know, there have been a few ways for you all to engage in the orientation experience this summer. I know we've had the chance to meet many of you at our Ready, Set, Roar in-person orientation sessions. Maybe you have been able to engage with some of the virtual orientation content that was available to you and your student. And this is sort of the third option that we provide as a part of that experience. So we know that neither of those environments necessarily gives you the chance to hear a super in-depth discussion on some of our areas across campus, or certainly not the same opportunity to ask questions and kind of go back and forth with some specific situations. And so as a way to meet that need, we offer this virtual Zoom webinar series all summer, where we've invited campus partners to come share a little bit about who they are, how they support your students, and how they support you. And so this is our final session of that series, called Next Steps for Success, and is a shift for us from kind of the summer transition conversation to move-in is right around the corner. We are gearing up for the opening of the brand new school year. And so we want to make sure that there are a few pieces on your radar. And so we're going to do that this evening. Specifically, our agenda will include the rest of this welcome and overview. You will get the chance to hear from our presenters here in just a moment. They will each kind of talk through their content, share a little bit about what they do here at Clemson, and then we will wrap up with some closing remarks and reminders. I am confident that all of you are more comfortable with the Zoom environment than you ever wish to be, but just to make sure, I wanted to go through a few housekeeping pieces here. So this is a Zoom webinar, a little bit different from regular Zoom. You will note that your audio and video has been muted. That is intentional, just to make sure that our panelists can have the floor, so to speak, and so that we can make sure they're able to share all that they have to share with you. You'll also note on your toolbar, you will see a question and answer button. We would ask that you use that and only that to submit any questions throughout the session. So there are a few other tools on there. You'll see the hand raise tool. You'll see the chat function. We are not able to really utilize those to answer any questions in the webinar environment. So if you could do us a favor and send questions through that Q&A button, that will help all of us receive those and get to answer those in a timely manner. We will use the chat, on the other hand, to share out any links or any other answers to questions that we think are relevant to all of you in this space. And then finally, you will notice on your screen that this session is being recorded. All of our webinars this summer have been recorded. We take those, process them over the next couple of days, publish those on our Clemson Family Programs YouTube page, and then share those out in the Clemson Parent and Family Experience portal. So if there are things that come up in the session that you want to remember later, or if you would like to go back and watch previous ones, know that you can do that. All right, at this point, I will transition it over to our presenters to introduce themselves.
Good evening. I'm Kimberly Poole, and I have the privilege of serving as Dean of Students here at Clemson University.
Good afternoon. My name is Sue Wharton, and I serve as Executive Director of Undergraduate Student Support Services.
Hello, everyone. My name is Neil Burton. I'm with the Career Center. Hi everyone, my name is Jordan Worrell and I serve as the Assistant Director for New Student Experience and the Center for Student Leadership and Engagement.
Awesome. All right, well, kicking us off with a welcome and here to share a little bit more about her role on campus is our Associate Vice President and Dean of Students, Dr. Kimberly Poole.
And good evening again, everyone. I'm glad to spend this time with you all as you get ready to have your students be a part of our community more directly. I'm sure there's last minute packing and all the fun things that are happening right now. So I just wanted to take a chance to say welcome. Welcome to Clemson University. Welcome to our Clemson family. I may have met some of you all during our Ready, Set, Roar sessions or other spaces, but if we haven't, glad to meet you virtually and know that as Dean of Students, my primary role is to support our students, to make sure students have what they need. And even if I'm not that final stop, making sure I'll help make sure to connect and get them to the things that will help them in their success here at Clemson University. And so, as I was thinking about talking with you all this evening and try to think about what are just a few nuggets that I would leave, and this is obviously not an exhaustive list, but I know this is a time of excitement, maybe a little bit of anxiety of all of those things. So, just a few things I would encourage us to think about is first and foremost, just continuing to encourage your students' growth and even their independence as they get used to a new environment, navigating successes and challenges that may come up, but learning how to use those resources around them. And really, that leads into the second point, use the resources. You've probably learned throughout the summer and other times there are a lot of resources on campus that are here to make sure your students have what they need. And so use those. Don't shy away. Encourage your students to meet with their advisors, meet with their faculty, whatever they need. We are here to support them through that. So utilizing those resources, but also get involved. Academics is primary in those goals beyond graduation, but get involved. There are a lot of clubs, organizations, and ways to become a part of this community and create that sense of belonging that hopefully will also contribute to their success here at Clemson. So encourage your student when they're thinking about things to be involved. You'll learn a little bit later about some chances for them to understand those opportunities. So, tune in, listen closely to those pieces. And one of the other things I would say is have a plan for communication with your students. Sometimes that's that idea of how much is too much, how little, how much is so little that I don't know what's going on, but how that plan for communication, and they'll call you in between or text in between as needed, but definitely think about what that looks like as you prepare to have them moved in and then you're leaving campus. What does that look like so that you all have the support of each other and that you know what's going on with your student and you can support them during this time? Support sometimes from a little bit farther away than feels comfortable for families, but knowing that we're here. And that's what I want to say is we're here. We thank you for trusting us to support your student. We know that, as I always say, they could go anywhere in the world, but they are coming here to Clemson University, and we're excited and grateful for that. So we're here to support. And so if you have questions or needs, also, if you're a student, my contact information is on the slide. Please do make use of that. We want to support. So thank you. We're excited to have you all on campus really soon, and welcome and go Tigers.
Awesome. Thank you, Dr. Poole. Next up, we will hear about the Academic Success Center from Dr. Sue Horton.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm delighted to be here to share with you a little bit about the Academic Success Center and the resources that we offer through the center. And one point that I'd like to share that we focus on here at the center is really helping students to become confident, skillful, and resourceful learners. And we want to help them achieve their goals not just at Clemson, but beyond Clemson as well. We want them to be thriving learners at Clemson. Here's a little bit about what students tell us from surveys that we send out and focus groups. You can see here, after utilizing our services, 98% of our students felt more confident in their ability to succeed at Clemson. 95% felt an increased sense of commitment to achieving their educational goals. And our student employees also feel good about working at the ASC in terms of gaining relevant skills that they'll be able to use in other areas of their life. And we're thrilled that 99% of them would recommend being an ASC peer leader to other interested and qualified students. So when your students make use of the Academic Success Center resources, we're really about trying to help them develop a growth mindset. We're trying to help them learn more about strategies that they can utilize to be successful in their classes. And we're trying to help them become more resourceful in terms of learning about other resources that are available on the Clemson campus that can help them be successful as well. Next slide, please. Here's an overview of the services that we offer at the center. We have a significant amount of online learning resources, things like self-guided study worksheets and self-guided success worksheets. We offer a service called academic coaching that's really designed to help students work with a professional staff member to determine their goals, and then for the coach to help them figure out ways, tactics that they can engage in that will help them achieve their goals. Some students also use academic coaching as an accountability tool. So they tell the coach, these are the things that I want to work on, these are the things that I want to improve upon. And that's what the coach is going to ask about at subsequent visits with the coach. We have something called success strategy workshops. Those are based on all different kinds of topics: reading, note taking, time management, combating test taking nerves, um, figuring out how to kind of organize your study time, your learning space, all different kinds of workshops that are generally about 45 minutes and focus on a particular topic. In a minute, I want to tell you a little bit more about our Jumpstart workshop for new students that'll be held on August 19th. We also have what we call peer learning support programs, and basically that's what the title is, what they are. They're peer-to-peer learning support services, and they come in two different modalities. One is in a group study session that we call PAL, or peer assisted learning. And then another one is tutoring, which generally tends to be more one-on-one. We offer PAL or tutoring for about 75 different courses at Clemson. Next slide, please. So here's what students can do on our website in terms of accessing resources and services. So the first week of classes, we'll publish the tutor and PAL session schedules. Students can schedule an appointment with their academic coach. They can register for our workshops on our website. They can utilize our GPA calculator, which is great for students who want to calculate their current GPA and the GPA they'll need, especially for those who need to meet a minimum cumulative GPA for any scholarships that they might have. And as I mentioned earlier, our success strategy worksheets are also accessible on our website. Another nice thing on our website is students sometimes want to use a study room in their building, in our building, and they can reserve a study space on our website. Next slide, please. A little bit more about academic coaching. It's really focused on course-specific content, but focused more on executive functioning strategies, growth mindset, and goal setting. And so you can see on the slide here a little bit of a breakdown about the things that coaches will talk to students about. And it just ranges from the goal setting to test preparation to learning strategy. And it's all going to be based on what your student would like to work on and what your student would like to talk about. Next slide, please. Our success strategy workshops, like I said earlier, are about 45 minutes. And here are some of the areas that they focus on: learning strategies, practices, success practices, how they can sharpen their thinking skills, their metacognition skills. And we've gotten great feedback from our students about our success strategy workshop. At the ASC, Again, we're focused on helping students achieve their full potential and realize their full potential. And part of that is building their self-efficacy, which is their confidence in their ability to be successful at Clemson. Next slide, please. Here's a little bit about, more specifically about our Jumpstart workshops. They're going to be held on Tuesday, August 19th, and you can see the 3 different sessions during which they'll be offered. And highly encourage you to talk with your students about signing up for one or more of these workshops. They're really designed to help students feel more comfortable and going into some of the courses that are historically a little bit more challenging for students, the sciences, engineering, math, languages, and then we also have some workshops specifically for transfer students as well. And again, those students can for the Jumpstart workshops on our website at clemson.edu/ASC. I'd like to talk a little bit more now about our peer learning support programs, which are PAL and tutoring. Next slide, please. Here's a little bit about PAL. PAL sessions are collaborative study sessions. So I'll take one of the courses that we offer PAL for. That would be Math 1060. So for PAL sessions, we'll hire an upper class student who's made an A or B in Math 1060. And this student will go through extensive training and take a course on learning strategies, how the brain works in terms of learning, and strategies for communication and creating engaging sessions for students. The PAL leaders will go to the class with students and hear what the professors are talking about in class. And then twice a week, they'll hold structured collaborative sessions, focus on building community, helping the students deeply engage with the course content, and sharing tips for success in the course. We'll offer multiple sessions for PAL, for the example again of Math 1060, so they can attend any PAL session that fits with their class schedule. Tutoring, we have 2 different kinds of tutoring. The first one is really focused on course content, and that is what we call our ASC tutoring. And students bring specific questions that they have about the course materials. So if they're in a chemistry course, they may have specific questions about chemical reactions, the algebra that's involved and the calculations that need to occur in chemistry, effective ways to learn chemistry course content. Our study skills tutors are going to focus more on developing learning skills for any course. They're going to talk with students about effective reading strategies, how to take effective notes, how to prepare for tests. A study skills tutor might be able to talk to a student, for example, if a student comes in and says, I'm having a hard time in class because my professor talks too fast. That study skills tutor will be able to share strategies for effectively taking notes in a course where the professor speaks fast, and also may be able to share their lived experience of a class where they felt the professor spoke too fast and can share the strategies that they employed for success in that course. Our tutoring sessions are by appointment and by drop-in, and we schedule our tutoring appointments using our CU Navigate app. And your student will learn about CU Navigate, probably has already learned about it through the virtual orientation materials, but we'll also continue to share information with students about how they can access tutoring in CU Navigate. Okay, well, that concludes my portion of the program today. And Casey, I think, would you like for us to just wait until the end for any questions? Or would you like to entertain questions now about the ASC?
I did see one, and so I think
Okay.
go ahead and ask that one. You may have covered it at this point. The question is whether or not students can just show up for math tutoring at the ASC, or do they always need to make the appointment first?
So if they want a guaranteed time, one-on-one, we do have appointment scheduling for that. We we also have drop-in tutoring. At this point in time, we're still finalizing the drop-in schedule. So it may be, for example, that we do have drop-in for a course that a student would like to just drop in for and not need to make an appointment for. So the drop-in sessions and the appointment-based sessions will all be published on our website during the first week of classes. For the study skills tutoring, that is going to be exclusively drop-in Sunday through Thursday afternoons in the Academic Success Center. So even a student who, again, using the math example, wants help with math, the student could go to the drop-in study skills tutoring, and the tutor might be able to help the student figure out strategies for approaching math problems and that would be beneficial to the student. So I would say check the tutoring schedule the first week of classes. UCU Navigate to schedule appointments and know there's always drop-in study skills tutoring. I saw another question here, Casey, that I can answer. There's not a limit for PAL sessions. Students can attend as many PAL sessions as they want. In fact, we encourage students to actively and regularly engage in PAL sessions and consider that part of their study and learning time. Because what happens in PAL sessions is they're collaborative discussions. They talk about the problems in the course. They talk about difficult course concepts, and students are in groups and talk about the course material. So we have some courses where 60 to 70% of the students enrolled in the course attend PAL sessions. And we welcome that and encourage that. The Jumpstart sessions, I see another question about that. Those, for the most part, are going to be in person. We will have a couple Zoom sessions, but on Tuesday, the majority of the sessions will be in person. Tutoring appointments will be available to set up at the beginning of the semester. And if a student checks for a tutoring appointment, let's just say it's 2 o'clock on a Tuesday afternoon, and the student goes in to CU Navigate and sees there's an opening at 3 o'clock, the student is welcome to schedule an appointment at 3 o'clock. If there's a drop-in session at 2 o'clock, the student's welcome to drop in at 2:30, 3 o'clock. Let's just say that session goes from 2:30 or 2 to 4:30. The student can drop in any time between that 2 to 4:30 time for a drop-in session.
Awesome. All right. Thank you, Sue.
My pleasure.
Moving along, we next get to hear a little bit more about the Center for Career and Professional Development from the Executive Director, the icon, the legend, Dr. Neil Burton. Take it away.
Thanks so much, Casey. I appreciate that. I hope everybody's having a good evening. So again, my name is Neil Burton. I am with the Center for Career and Professional Development, and oftentimes parents are a little puzzled about why the career guy would be talking to them when their students are trying to figure out their course schedule and where they're going to live and where they're going to eat. But as I like to tell parents, I'm your return on investment guy. We're going to make sure that your students have opportunities after Clemson to be very successful. As you can see in the slide there, that's the tiger in front of our new building. We've got a great space over here by the lake, right on the 18th green at the golf course, where we are going to make sure that your students are well cared for and have a lovely view while they are chatting about their careers. Next slide. So I throw this up here really just to help folks understand, and I share this with students as well. If you look closely, you might see that there's a special word there in that mission statement, and that is empower. Our goal is not to find your student a good job. Our hope is that we're going to equip them to be successful in finding great job after great job after great job so they have a marvelous career. We want to fill the toolkit to make sure that they're going to be successful in every role after they leave Clemson. Next slide. So we have a laser focus on student service, just like you heard from Sue when she's talking about the ASE. We also really want to make sure that we are going the extra mile for our students. It can be a little intimidating coming into the Center for Career and Professional Development for assistance. So we always want to make sure that we're tamping down that anxiety as much as we can. We survey our students, and I think we had over 1,000 respondents last year. 100% said that they felt welcome when they came into the center. 99.8% said that they were satisfied. So I think out of 1,000 respondents, we had 2 that maybe said that they didn't. We need to make sure that we do a better job. We need to be at 100% there. And we're very successful. And I say we, Clemson as a whole is very successful. Our graduates are highly successful when they look at post-Clemson opportunities. I think over the last 4 years, we've averaged over 95% of our recent graduates finding that first destination within 6 months of graduation. And that's normally 5 to 10 percentage points higher than the national average. Next slide. So I like to show this slide. I am not going to argue causality. I am not going to argue correlation. I'm just going to observe that students who come and visit our center tend to have higher starting salaries than those who don't. And the more often the students come in, the higher their salary. Again, I'm not saying there's a correlation or causality, but it's an interesting observation. Next slide. Yeah, so I always like to throw this slide up there. And if you'll notice, I skipped years 23 and 24, and I did that because the year 25, all of those years are under 40%. And that is really interesting. So if you know, in 2019, 3/4 of our employers were saying, hey, we're really hyper-focused on grades, and now it's less, they're still very concerned about academic performance. And that's why we're grateful to have the Academic Success Center to make sure that our students are successful there. But they're also looking for something else. Next slide. And you can see that here. Obviously, academic major matters. If you have a nursing role, you're not going to hire an accountant to fill that role. The next 2 are, there's an internship and industry. They're looking for experience. But that 4th one is competencies. These are those soft skills or those social skills that employers are really expecting their new members to have as they come into that organization. Next slide. And Clemson does a terrific job of delivering these. Academic Success Center is a huge partner there. Center for Leadership Engagement is a huge partner there. Your students are going to get these skill sets. They're going to be exposed to these in their classroom, outside the classroom. Clemson is hyper-focused on these because they make a huge difference as our students are looking at those post-Clemson opportunities. Next slide. Yeah, so another important point I want to make is about engaged learning. Many of you are going to be familiar with internships. Several of you are probably familiar with cooperative education or student teaching or nursing practica, those kind of things. Clemson is so Clemson values those so much that it appears in our strategic plan. The state of South Carolina provides some funding to help students engage in those opportunities. And this next data point is one that I'm really proud of. 77% of our seniors last year said that they had had an opportunity to engage in an experiential learning assignment. That's compared to 48% of seniors at our peer schools. Clemson is very pragmatic that way, and it matters. 75% of the young people that do an internship or a co-op will receive a full-time offer from that employer. They don't have to accept that offer, but man, that's a nice insurance policy to put in your back pocket if you don't have any other opportunities that materialize at graduation. We also have an on-campus internship program. These students work with Dr. Poole and Dr. Horton and Casey. These are our UPIC students. These are opportunities for students to work 12 to 15 hours a week in between their classes, earn a little bit of money, and get some career-related experience in their areas of interest. And it really helps. Not only does it provide a little spending money, the young people who participate are 20% more likely to have a job at graduation than those who don't. Next slide. Just a couple of other benefits of experiential learning. The students who participate in these tend to have higher grades because the course material all of a sudden makes more sense because they're getting to apply that knowledge in a practical setting. They graduate at a higher rate because they kind of see the benefit of going through some of the classes that they're in. They average $5,000 to $6,000 more in starting pay. More career satisfaction because there's more fit. These students will go out there and sometimes they'll do an internship and say, that's not really what I want to do. That's a realization I would much rather them make their junior year than about 6 months after they graduate. So better career satisfaction. They end up with about twice as many job offers as students who don't participate. So it's a really, really important program, and that's why the university supports it so much. Next slide. Yeah, so there are lots of tools that we have in our center that will help students kind of figure out how to take their education and find a productive career for it or something that's going to be really rewarding to them. That's just a handful. We would strongly encourage students to do their research on their own, but come and see us and let us help. Next slide. Yeah, so if they'll come in, we offer career assessments where they'll take an interest inventory, kind of figure out what they like and see how those interests align with people in other areas. So if they have the same kind of interest as somebody that's in accounting or veterinary science or something like that, that might be something to think about. We have counseling appointments, drop-ins and appointments. I'll talk about those a little bit later. I've already mentioned experiential education. We have cooperative education, on-campus internships, off-campus internships. We provide interview space on campus for our students, and I think that is going to become something more and more important as AI enables students to maybe answer questions that maybe they wouldn't be able to answer otherwise. I think employers are going to start coming and asking for those face-to-face interactions, so we have a place for that. We have career fairs, and I've got a slide on that, but that career fairs are tremendously important, and I'd encourage your students to attend those. Next slide. So I mentioned those on-campus interviews. We help students with their applications to graduate and professional schools. We have a lot of services that we subscribe to that show your students all kinds of opportunities, not only after they graduate, but for internships and co-ops as well. We offer a laundry list of workshops to kind of help them if they have a particular area of interest that they want to focus on. Next slide. So come and see us. Yes, we have drop-ins. We'll have those every afternoon. That's in the library. It's very convenient. We also have appointments over in our center. We would love to see your students over here. Drop-ins, obviously, they don't need to make an appointment. That's for a 10 or 15-minute conversation. The appointments can be 30 or 60 minutes. Those tend to be a little bit more involved, and our counselors need to do a little bit of homework before they meet with those students. Then my last slide, Casey. No, not my last slide. Yeah, the career closet. So we actually, we know a lot of our students don't necessarily have professional wear. If they'll come over to our career closet, they can find something in their size. We don't let students borrow those. We give them to the students. We have a terrific alumni association. Those folks are generous in giving back to us. If you have any gently used professional clothing that you would like to share with some students, we would gladly welcome those donations. And students can just call us and come over. It's very private. They have some dressing rooms that they can try things on. But we have a lot of students that take advantage of that. Next slide. This is my last slide. Yeah, this is the career fair. Very excited about this. We actually had to add an extra day. It's now 4 days because we had so much interest from our employers in talking with our students. You can see that it's going to be Monday through Thursday at Little John Coliseum, noon to 4. We have a lot of prep events that take place before that to kind of help your students get ready. And if I would encourage you to send your student as a freshman to the career fair. If they'll come in and say, hey, I'm a freshman, I've never seen this, one of our staff members will take them around, introduce them to some employers that don't have any students in, because it can be overwhelming for a student to walk into that environment. I would love for them to do that early on so that when they go back as a sophomore, junior, senior, they've already been there before. It's not as overwhelming, and it's something that is super practical. I think about 70% of the students end up with a lead. Almost 2/3 end up with at least one interview, and almost half end up with an offer as a result of going to the fair. So I strongly encourage that. I don't know if there's any questions, but I'm happy to help.
All right. As you all are thinking, feel free to send some in the question and answer button, as I mentioned at the beginning. Thank you so much for that overview, Neil. And rounding us out this evening, you have heard a lot about the focus that we have or that we place on academic success, certainly on career readiness, both of which will kind of be woven into a little bit of what Jordan's about to talk about. But in addition to supporting our parents and families here in the center, we also do a lot to support the new student experience and do that through a couple of ways. So as we kind of prepare for move-in and along with that welcome week and weeks of welcome, I will pass it over to our Assistant Director for New Student Experience, Jordan Morrell.
Hi, everyone. I'm excited to give you all a little bit of a rundown of what Welcome Week and our new concept, Weeks of Welcome, entails for your students. So aside from those students who have been a part of Ready, Set, Roar, the in-person orientation program, this will most likely be their, first touch point when they get to Clemson. So excited to tell you all a little bit more about that. So I'm going to talk a little bit about a few different things. So kind of giving you all the what is Welcome Week, talk a little bit about those student leaders who will be helping your students through this process, talk about those small groups and the communication that your student can expect from their Welcome Week leaders. We'll talk about how they check into these events through Event Pass. We'll talk about, Welcome Week and recruitment and how that kind of works, because I'm sure a lot of your students may be taking part in Panhellenic recruitment. So we'll talk a little bit about that. And then introducing our new concept, Weeks of Welcome. So Welcome Week will take place August 13th through the 20th. So that's a Tuesday to a Tuesday, and it will round out on the first day of class. So here's a little bit of an overview of some things that we have going on during that week. It'll start off August 13th with some kickball and a movie night. August 14th, we will have our big late night breakfast and trivia that takes place in one of the on-campus dining halls. Super fun. We have moved that location this year because it was such a hit last year, so we needed a bigger venue. So very excited about that. We'll also have a movie night that night as well. And then starting the 15th, we kind of get into our bigger programming that will continue through the rest of the week. So we'll have some laser tag escape rooms, some campus tours offered if your students are interested in kind of getting a grasp on, where to go for their classes, walking their schedule, things like that. Their leaders will take them through that process if they're interested. We're going to have a carnival this year. That's one of our new events. So super exciting there. And then welcome rally. I've highlighted our what we call signature events in yellow. So the events that happen every year, ones that all students go to typically together with their groups and their welcome week leader. So welcome rally is one of those where they all go out to the amphitheater on campus and learn about some Tiger traditions, are able to get plugged into some resources and people around campus who are tabling there as well. And we also have Coca-Cola, who's one of our sponsors, come out to that event, and students are allowed to participate in what they call Fill Your Fridge. So they're able to get a bunch of free soft drinks, energy drinks, waters from Coca-Cola, which is super cool. As we go throughout the week, the 17th, we will have Clemson Leader Day. Your student will be assigned with their group leader to a shift, either the morning or the afternoon shift, where they will come into a classroom and their leader will facilitate our Clemson Leader Framework, which kind of allows your student to get a better grasp on different pathways to becoming a leader here at Clemson and different opportunities that we have for that as well. They'll participate in their first community meetings with their RCMs. And then that evening we'll have silent disco, which is always a huge, huge hit, and karaoke, which is a new event that we're offering this year. The 18th will be New Student Convocation, Athletics Showcase, President's Cookout in that morning. That is also something that happens every year. The students are met by their leader that morning. They walk to Little John Coliseum and they're able to hear from some faculty and staff, some other students and peers. And then they'll hear from all of the sports coaches, which is super fun. They usually give out some giveaways during that time. And then after they transition outside of Little John Coliseum to the President's Cookout. So a lot of really good food, and they will have a chance to chat and meet President Jim Clements, which is super awesome. And then that night, the Alumni Center is hosting the 40th Welcome Back Festival. That'll happen in downtown Clemson, and that is always a huge hit. And we will be offering our Glow Night programming in the Hendricks Student Center that evening. So we'll have some glow roller skating, some glow line dancing, some glow mini golf, and yeah, that'll be a super fun night as well. The 19th, we are promoting a little bit of what Sue talked about with those ASC Jumpstart sessions. We've got quite a few of those happening the morning of August 19th. And then that afternoon, we'll have our back to school bash as kind of our last big event of the week. And then Tiger Prowl as well. So that'll be in the stadium around the concourse of the football stadium. And that is where around 300 or so of our 500 plus student organizations will come to table, and your student will have the opportunity to go around and see what clubs or organizations they may be interested in joining. And then we will round out that evening with some yoga to kind of calm everyone down, get ready for the first day of class. And then August 20th, we will be stationed around campus on that first day of class for that morning chunk. So about 7:30 a.m. until around lunchtime, helping guide students if they need assistance getting where they're going. We'll have maps and then muffins as well to pass out to them. And then that evening, we will do the entering year class photo. Your student will meet their welcome week leader. And head to the stadium, and we will, with the help of the band, get in the form of the Clemson Paw, and they'll be able to take that photo, which is always a super memorable and fun way to close out the week. All right, so kind of as I mentioned before, this year we are introducing a new concept called Weeks of Welcome. So this is going to be a 6-week extended orientation model, and it will kind of serve as an opportunity to continue to provide that support that we have historically provided in that week 1 for a bit longer for your students, which we are super, super excited about, continuing to push some resources and programming for them. It'll be less on the social side. There will still be social programming, but it'll be a little bit more seminar style programs, workshops geared towards some specific skills and themes that we have set up. And our goals with incorporating these 6 weeks of welcome are to prepare the new students to, successfully transition, find community, and continue to form those relationships and find those resources. As you know, 1 week may not necessarily be enough to get plugged into all of those things. So being able to continue building those relationships, highlight some campus resources and programs that your students may find useful, create some more social opportunities, and really push that sense of belonging throughout those first 6 weeks. And this is kind of our tagline of what we call, Weeks of Welcome, and kind of how we describe it. And our goal with this is really teaching these students and helping them with how to college and how to Clemson. So a lot of these themes and workshops will be focused on, how to navigate college, how to navigate Clemson. This is kind of an overview of these 6 weeks. We have themed them out based on what we believe will be most beneficial to your students during these specific weeks and during these specific times. So, for example, week 1 is what I've just gone over. So our traditional welcome week programming, we've got all the fun social things happening right up before classes start. Our week 2 will be August 25th through 29th. And that one is really focused around building community and connections and being able to confidently call Clemson home and feel super comfortable with that. So we've worked a lot with our partners in housing and residential living to, structure these events around kind of where students are at during this time. So, they're living with someone new, probably for the first time. It may be their first time living with someone. So we've built some conflict management workshops into this week, a community tour as well to allow students to become acquainted with the Clemson community beyond just the university level. A community partner fair as well. So bringing in outside resources to talk to your students about what the community generally has to offer. And then just some more insight on some Tiger traditions, working with the Alumni Center to better educate on those things. Week 3 will be September 2nd through the 5th, and that one is really focused around building healthy habits and general wellness of your students. So we're working a lot with Healthy Campus, providing some stress reliever workshops, mindfulness workshops, some alcohol education as well. So really focusing on, how to be healthy, how to be well, how to promote that sense of well-being in the incoming class. Week 4 is centered a lot around academics, so that'll be the 8th through the 12th. At this point, a lot of students have either had their first project or taken their first big test, so really wanting to provide resources that they may find helpful or necessary in that time. So some note-taking workshops, working a lot with the ASC to provide some more similar workshops to the Jumpstart ones that Sue was mentioning earlier. We're also working with the library to provide a workshop on building research skills. And then we will also be pulling in some, office hours, tutoring information there as well. Week 5 is, we've themed it building self-agency skills. So we're going to work with our partners in Fidelity to help bring in some, financial literacy workshops, maybe how to manage some money, things of that nature, some time management, some accountability workshops. And then again, we're going to pull in that conflict management piece, as by this time your student has, probably made some friend groups and has been living with their roommate for a little bit longer, and there may be some conflict present. So just helping them to figure out the best way to navigate those situations. And then lastly, our week 6, which is September 22nd through the 26th, we will be focusing again on Clemson leadership. So being able to sharpen those leadership skills, kind of work on discovering their brand. We're going to have a digital identity workshop, which will kind of help focus on, how students are presenting themselves online and the best way to kind of build their brand to maybe successfully get a job after school or things of that nature. And we'll also have a resume workshop during that time. We will also be pushing some of the things that the Career Center has going on that Neil was mentioning as well. And we will have someone from our office who will do a little presentation on becoming a Clemson leader. So that is always a huge hit. So that final week, we'll kind of round out with some leadership. And yeah, those are the 6 weeks. In that, as I mentioned, with that week 1, your student will hear from a welcome week leader, and they should have already heard from one or will be hearing from one in the next few days to kind of, field any concerns or questions that they have before getting to campus. But those leaders are going to play a huge role in these 6 weeks of welcome and that expansion here. So being able to maintain those relationships with their students to kind of get a gauge on how they're doing, if they are well, what they're getting involved in, how they're becoming engaged on campus, and how they're doing academically as well. So we're really focusing on building those relationships, allowing our welcome week leaders to be a mentor to your students for longer than, that 1 week. They'll have structured check-ins, so your student will have 2 check-ins in the first semester with their welcome week leader. They'll have that intentional time to, sit down and check in. How are you doing? Do you need anything? Just kind of what's going on, kind of get a pulse check there. So in doing that, this is also helpful to us in teaching us about, what students need during this time, in those first 6 weeks, and how we can better address those needs as well. If you have any questions or want to learn more about what we have going on in that first week or any of those 6 weeks following, what your student can expect, anything like that, here's my email. Feel free to reach out to me, and we will also have details published on this website, hopefully in the next couple days, Friday at the absolute latest. We are working very hard to get that up and running with all of our information regarding these 6 weeks. But yeah, feel free to reach out via email. If your students have any questions, and do not want to reach out to me, maybe feel more comfortable reaching out to a student. As I said, those welcome week leaders are in the process of completing that outreach to all of the incoming students, so they're able to communicate with them as well. And then, yeah, keep an eye out for that website.
All right, Joe, I think we've got a few questions here.
All right.
I saw several just asking if you could kind of repeat the process of how students are put into their welcome week groups and how/when they can expect to be contacted by that student specifically.
Yeah, so we assign those groups to the leaders based on generally where they're living. So we go through, that'll happen for us this upcoming weekend. We'll go through and make those groupings official. And then your student will expect to hear from their specific welcome week leader the morning of August the 13th. So that is how that process works. And it'll be based on kind of where they're living geographically on campus. Let's see.
A couple of questions about transfer students and the role that they play or can play in Welcome Week.
Yeah, so transfer students are not assigned to a specific welcome week group or leader. However, we welcome and encourage transfer students to come to all of our events. All of our events are open to all students, aside from that Clemson Leader Day piece, but we definitely encourage transfer students to come out to any and all events that they wish to be a part of. It is very common for transfer students to come to all of our events.
I would add too, as we sort of get all of our details kind of published in all the places, one of the tools that your students will use, and if they've been to Ready Set Roar, this will be familiar. If they're not, that's okay. They will use it many more times. But is the CU Events app, so the Clemson University Events app. And when they download that app and look at the Weeks of Welcome guide and kind of are scrolling through event details for each week, those will also be coded with kind of the audience for each of those. So anything where you see a little first year student tag and a transfer student tag and a bridge student tag, those are kind of helpful in determining which pieces are for which group. But I would say that, to Joe's point, there are very few events on that schedule that transfer students would not attend.
I saw one about a printable PDF of welcome week activities, and the 6 weeks as well. I think that's a great idea, actually, being able to have something that students can print and hang up. So we will work on that. Again, it will all be on our live website as well, But if a printable PDF is something that people are interested in, I think we could definitely get that on our site also.
Jordan, will you speak to the Welcome Week plus Panhellenic recruitment topic?
Yes, absolutely. So we work very closely with our friends over in fraternity sorority life to assure that students are able to participate in both without any conflicts. So everything that you see from us should not conflict, will not conflict with recruitment. So your student is able to participate in all Welcome Week activities and also participate in Panhellenic recruitment as well. And that I see one about how do Welcome Week groups work if a student is in recruitment. Yeah, it won't affect their group or anything of that nature. We have many, many, many who participate in Panhellenic recruitment. So, let's see. A student will move in August 16th. Will he just join activities when he arrives? Yes. So your student will still have heard from their leader, and we don't have any of our signature events before move-in wraps up. So your student will just jump in as soon as they are moved in with their leader.
I saw a couple other questions sort of in that same vein. If the student needs to move in and then kind of spend some time with family in those first couple of days, is that okay? Absolutely. You'll note on that schedule, as Jordan kind of talked through, those first few days and first few evenings, we are offering, kind of what I would describe as some low maintenance social programming to make sure that as students move in throughout that week, they always have somewhere to go and they always have something to do. But it's not until that weekend that we really begin, again, as Jordan said, those signature events. And that's where we'll really expect students to be present. That will be, reinforced and re-explained by Welcome Week leaders, but just know that if you are kind of balancing three priorities or trying to be in many places at once, particularly those first few days of move-in, we certainly understand and would encourage y'all to do what is best for you.
And I see one here about can students participate in Welcome Week activities on days before they actually move in? If your student is around and local and maybe just hasn't officially moved in yet, then absolutely, they are definitely encouraged to participate whenever they can. Will commuters be assigned a welcome leader, or is it only for those living on campus? So they will only be assigned a leader if they are living on campus, but obviously commuters more than welcome to attend any and all Welcome Week activities as well. And if there are any questions about that, please, please, please direct them to my email shown on the screen as well.
One piece that I should have mentioned in our transfer student conversation, a couple of thoughts there. So yes, they're welcome to attend many of those events. I would also offer that we have both staff and student groups committed to supporting the transfer student experience. So Transfer Council specifically will host some events of their own. That we would certainly encourage our students to connect with. And then just a plug for a previous Tiger Talk webinar, we hosted some staff members, graduate assistants, and student leaders who either are transfer students or support transfer students a couple sessions ago, and that recording is on our YouTube page as well. So if you have more specific questions about transfer student support and what that looks like, here at Clemson would recommend giving that a watch as well. Jordan, do you mind reiterating just one more time those signature events?
Yes, could we maybe go back a few slides? Is that possible?
Absolutely.
Just so that I can have it right in front of me. All right, forward one more. So those signature events will begin on the evening of the 16th with that welcome rally. So that's at 5 p.m. August 16th. And that is the first of our signature events during that week one. And Casey, if you'll go to the next slide, please. And then the 17th, we've got that Clemson Leader Day first thing that morning. Same with new student convocation the morning of the 18th. And then that entering year class photo the evening of the 20th. That'll be at 7 p.m. that evening as well.
And again, we would hope and expect for all of our new students to be at those events. I will offer that if your student is living on campus as a traditional first year student, a lot of those signature events that we have noted here, they will simply be brought to that event with their welcome week leader, right? So our welcome week, Jordan has been doing a lot of planning with a Welcome Week exec, so a group of student leaders who have done the Welcome Week things before and have been certainly integral in the planning process. But then there are, what, Joe, 145-ish is what I keep saying, Welcome Week leaders who help to carry out the activities of that week. And so anywhere you see those signature events, it is very likely that we are expecting their attendance because we have sent students to come and bring them to us. So certainly always appreciate your help and your partnership and kind of reinforcing that message and encouraging their attendance, and hope that we are kind of doing what we can on our end to encourage that as well. The last piece I would just offer or reiterate about our weeks of welcome expansion here. I know Joe has shared a lot about it. It's just a reminder that this is our first year making that shift. And so we have had kind of that traditional week one of Welcome Week programming for a few years now, and that's very established. And this shift will be new. I think it's fair to say that that will come with some growing pains or some pieces that we haven't quite figured out and won't figure out until the end, but that is also part of the purpose. And so we are hoping that as we kind of get into the weeds of what the student experience looks like in that first 6 weeks, that this will help us in identifying what those challenges are, identifying how we can partner with folks across campus, including those you heard from tonight, to address those and help students feel even more confident, even more capable in their ability to be successful here at Clemson. All right, I think we have covered all the questions received this evening. So I will wrap us up with some final reminders. As I mentioned at the beginning of our session, this is being recorded and will be shared through the Clemson Parent and Family Experience portal. If you have attended any of these Tiger Talks, or if you have attended a Ready Set Roar session this summer, you likely have heard me explain this portal, but would certainly recommend getting connected if you've not yet. This is our hub for all family communication here at Clemson, and is likely the first place that we will share any kind of update. So campus, community news, upcoming policies, or anything like that that will impact your student. And then any upcoming events, whether those are for your student or for you as a family member. So would certainly encourage you to connect with that portal. And as I mentioned, this was our final Tiger Talk of this summer. So I believe this is number 12 of 12. Appreciate those of you who have stuck with us from the start. And again, if you have any interest in watching this one or any of the others that we have hosted all summer, would recommend doing so. In the meantime, as we prepare for August and all that comes with that, certainly do not hesitate to reach out if we can be helpful in supporting your experience of transition or your students. We can always be reached at cufamilies@clemson.edu. And with that, I say go Tigers. Good night, everyone.